All right, hey everybody, welcome to episode 27 of the Stop and Give Me 20 podcast. 20 minutes with some of the world's top fitness professionals. I'm your host, Anthony Renna. You can check out the show notes at stop20podcast.com. That's stop20podcast.com. Before you do that, go to iTunes, subscribe to the show. We actually cracked the top 200 recently, but then we got back out. So I need those ratings and those reviews to keep coming so we can get the word out there. All right, for today's episode, I have on Skahan. And Skahan is in his first season as the strength and conditioning coach for the Minnesota Wild, but he's already spent 13 seasons as the strength and conditioning coach for the Anaheim Ducks, where he, in 2003, went to the Stanley Cup Finals, fell short in the seventh game. I was actually at that game, New Jersey Devils. But he did win the Stanley Cup in 2007 with the Ducks. I can prove it. I saw his name on the Stanley Cup at the Hockey Hall of Fame. He also worked before the Ducks and in between the Ducks and not before the Ducks. In between the Ducks and the Wild, he was at BU working with their hockey team, and he's also in the past worked for BC, University of North Dakota. He is the author of Total Hockey Training, and he was the first guest ever 10 years ago on the Strength Coach podcast. Skahan, thanks for coming on today.
Hey, thanks, Ant. I always appreciate these opportunities, and I look forward to this.
All right. Well, it's a little something different. So let's get this thing going. What's your story?
My story, I think, when I was growing up in Quincy, Massachusetts, I was your typical really, really skinny kid. I was playing, Quincy youth football, and I was a really scrawny kid. And I had an uncle that was a bodybuilder in the New England region, and he bought me the barbell and the sand-filled plates, and I had that kind of in my bedroom, and I think I had 135 pounds of weight, and that's where I kind of spent a lot of my time preparing for playing football. I remember vividly of trying to bench press the max, and me and all my friends would be over there doing a 1RM with 135. And that's where it started for me. I realized that strength training would help me become a better football player. I was probably 11 or 12, and probably spent too much time on the bench press versus the squat. But, I think that to me, I realized that you could be a better football player by lifting weights. And that's how I started. I think, I think when you're a teenager too, you want to kind of have more muscles on your body. I was your typical young kid trying to gain weight and all that. And I guess it worked.
Nice. What about now when he gave that to you? It's so funny because people don't know this, but when I send the intro, in the email, it says, when I ask this question, it's not about your fitness business, but your fitness lifestyle. And the example I give is your uncle, and I know you don't have an Uncle Vinny probably, but it's like, your Uncle Vinny gave
I actually do. I actually did.
Nice. Your Uncle Vinny gave you the Joe Weider set, and, you were doing bicep curls and bench press. So it's kind of funny. Did he at least give you a program? Did he help you out? Something like kind of send you in the right direction?
No, I think just maybe just in a lifestyle perspective. I think just a commitment to training. I think I had like the poster you get on the wall, and it was a lot of volume for a young kid, but I tried it, and I remember Arnold Schwarzenegger's book. Me and my buddies would do, and we'd be sore for days. But I do recall that stuff, and I definitely think it was kind of an ignition. I think before I kind of got into strength and conditioning. I did know you could change your body and your confidence and your sports performance through strength training.
Yeah, that's cool. It's funny. A lot of people have been mentioning lately that Arnold Schwarzenegger book. Very cool.
Yeah.
Skahan, I'm going to go a little different direction with you with the superhero questions because, you've been around so many coaches professionally with the Ducks and the Wild, and then as well as with BC, Dakota. You're in Minnesota, I'm pretty sure, for your graduate, right? BU. You've been around so many great coaches. Was there a coach growing up for you that really kind of influenced the way you're, kind of that you see in terms of you being a coach now?
You know, I think for me, I always kind of embrace coaching in the now. Maybe there wasn't a specific coach, but I always kind of at the time I thought I was a coachable kid. When I played football at North Quincy, there was guys like Ken McPhee and Tom Carter, Peter Chisholm, and Earl Metzler. These guys were our coaches, and I played in high school where I was lucky to be in a class where I was on the JV team. We never lost a game. When I was a senior, we never lost a game. We won the Super Bowl, and that was pretty cool. And just kind of just molding into being a coachable kid, I think that kind of helped me be around better coaches as I kind of progressed in my career. My college coach was Gus Girardi at UMass Boston, and then I got into the collegiate ranks and worked with some outstanding coaches there. And I've been very lucky and fortunate to be around some really good people that have helped me along the way.
Yeah, one thing I did notice in that answer was, and I probably couldn't do this, I can name a head coach that had a really big influence on me, but you just named 4 coaches from pretty much like your freshman year who were coaches, first and last name. That's pretty influential. Very cool.
Yeah.
Sean, let's go back to kind of like the superhero idea though. Is there anybody right now that you're kind of looking up to that's doing some great things that you kind of look up to that you aspire to?
Yeah, I think for me, like, obviously I'm a New England guy. It's tough not to look at Bill Belichick and admire what he does and what he's done and continues to do with the Patriots. I think the whole team first attitude, when you have superstars and, obviously winning that Super Bowl game was just, you can see the level of detail and preparation that goes into how he operates. And it's just, it's really neat. I really think that's cool as a Patriots fan, and to see that kind of leadership, it's really remarkable.
That made me think of, I've been listening, I just finished Legacy, and what they were talking about is, like for Bill Belichick, just that sustained, and they didn't talk about Bill Belichick in the book, but the when you're on top, you have to change, and apparently he's done that pretty well in terms of being able to sustain just really that incredible record over time. It's not just getting players, but it's also obviously attributed to him. So very cool. Sean, who do you feel like you want to be a superhero to? Who are some of the people that you're trying to help with maybe your business? I mean, you last year you came out with Total Hockey Training. You have all these different players, whether they're in the pros or in the minors. Obviously, you have your kids. Who are you trying to be a superhero to?
Yeah, I think I'd get in trouble if my wife listened to this and didn't hear me say my children for sure. My 2 boys. That kind of goes without saying. I think, I think for me, definitely the players in the Minnesota Wild system, on the big team and the minors and the prospects, and as well as those other coaches who might not know too much about strength and conditioning for the hockey player. I think you want to definitely be a source of positive information and influence for sure.
One thing I did want to mention to you really quick was, your influence. And obviously it doesn't go into the hockey world, but I have a pro golfer, she's in Florida right now. And we've taken what you were doing at Anaheim and kind of applied it to her world. So we do the warm-up before her rounds. So we have a specific warm-up before the rounds and the practice rounds. And I have her doing like a 20 to 30 minute maybe workout after she plays, because kind of like what your point was talking about, like when you first came on, you were talking about the players working out directly after the game, and because obviously they had to wake up the next morning and they were going to have the skate in the morning, the morning skate, and then so the last thing you wanted to do was have them go home after playing a game, waking up and just having to work out. And I'm playing around with that with her, and it's been working amazing. She absolutely loves it because we're using that that round as she's ready to go directly right after. So just so you know, your influence is not only hockey; it's creeped over into golf.
That's awesome.
Sean, I want to talk though about not the industry so much, but I want to talk about the professional ranks. And can you talk to us about some of the things that you feel like the pro ranks are doing right in strength and conditioning, and some of the things that you feel like you guys have been doing that maybe the fitness industry can learn from?
Yeah, I think we're doing things right all the time. When I'm at a point, Ant, when I can follow my script for a day and say, okay, say we want to have a team foam roll session or a team dynamic warm up. When you're at a point, I leave my guys alone on game days before the game, and then when you can see your guys, your athletes doing what you would want them to do without kind of sitting there telling them to do it, I think that's pretty cool. I think that's like, man, these guys are getting it. They know they need to come in and roll out first and then go and stretch and then go and actively, dynamically warm up for the game. And you don't have to stand there and tell them to do it. I think that's pretty neat. And I think that's where we are as in the professional realm. Preparation is huge and key. And when the guys embrace it and just becomes part of their monotonous routine on a daily basis, I think that's pretty neat.
Is it a lot different in the college ranks, or what can we take away from the college ranks that they're doing well there, that you kind of, when you were at BU last year, that was your most recent time, what you like about what they were doing there and that we can maybe learn from it in the industry?
I think in the collegiate ranks, you can embrace it with an iron fist more, to make sure that things are getting done the way that you want to get done 100% effectively. In the pros, you can't do that. Maybe you can with some younger first year guys or second year guys or the players who really want you to kind of coach them all the time. But you got to kind of give a little leeway to these older guys that have been doing this for a long period of time with success, and be there as a resource for them sometimes versus kind of coaching all the time with the younger players. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Obviously, you got to give a little leeway with some of the older players, and also they have certain things that they want to do that you kind of got to let them do a little bit if it's not hurting them, obviously.
Right.
Very cool, Sean. Now it's time for the stop and give me 5 rapid fire questions and answers. You ready to go?
Sure.
All right. Like I said before, you have taken place in Stanley Cup Finals a couple times and won one in 2007. Beside the Stanley Cup, what's your best hockey experience?
Winning the Western Conference Finals my first year in Anaheim with a team that no one picked us to go far at all, and then sweeping the Minnesota Wild here actually, and getting to the Stanley Cup Finals with a great group of guys who really embrace the training.
Very cool. I gotta kind of throw you under the bus a little bit. Best place to live? Let's go with the last three. Out of these three, you can only choose one. Minnesota, and this has nothing to do with teams. Minnesota, Boston, or Southern California.
That's a really tough question. Southern California with the weather is outstanding. great place to live and be on a daily basis. Minnesota weather, it's actually, the snow is melting right now, and actually took my dog for a walk, so that's great. But considering the fact that the majority of listeners might be from the Boston area, from family and friends, I got to take Boston.
All right. I was thinking, because, you were in Southern California for so long. It wasn't like you were there for 2 years. So that really became home. The kids were born there. So it's, I wasn't sure.
Okay. Things can get really comfortable there quickly.
If you had to work for another team, or it could be another pro league, where you don't know anyone, so there's no Boudreau's going over to the Patriots, so now you can go play with them. Strictly on the basis of the organization, where would you maybe want to play, or not play, coach?
Well, I'll definitely go back to the Patriots for sure. I mean, I just admire that culture and what they continue to do and who they are, and that'd be pretty neat.
Very cool. Going to go on a different track because I asked this question last episode with Brett Jones, but I love the question. If you had to be in a movie, right, what movie would you just love to be in, acting in?
I gotta say Slapshot. I just think just if you watch NHL Network last couple of days, they've been talking about it for 40-year reunion and talking to Bruce about being an extra in that movie. It sounds like Paul Newman. And in the movie itself, it's one of those movies you get to watch over and over again and pick up things, maybe, when you watch it when you were younger, you had no idea what they were talking about, but now you do as you get older. And it looks like it'd be a lot of fun to be on that set.
That's wild. I didn't know Bruce Boudreau was an extra in that.
Yeah, he's an extra. He's on that green team that they play. And he's got some stories, some behind the scenes stories that are really cool. And
nice.
That'd be pretty awesome to be on that movie.
Yeah, that kind of reminds me a little bit of like Caddyshack, where I think they had a lot of fun filming it. So very cool.
Yeah.
Lunch with someone no longer living. Who would it be?
Probably Abraham Lincoln, maybe, because I think he changed. He worked his butt off to get to where he was, and he did some good things as president.
Very cool. I know I said 5, but I got to go one more. What's your favorite opposing arena to go to and kind of work at?
Man, I think I've been in every one in the league.
Could be an old one too, because I know you've been to the old ones.
Yeah, I have been to the old ones. The Igloo was pretty cool. The MSG was pretty neat. I used to like going to obviously in Anaheim, we went to the Shark Tank a lot, but now being in the Central, I love going to Chicago. Hearing that national anthem kind of gives you chills down your spine. And haven't been successful there in the playoffs with the old team, but and we just lost to them last night. But hopefully, I think we'll run into them in the playoffs. Hopefully we can beat them.
Absolutely.
That's a pretty cool place.
Yeah, very cool. You're in the middle of the season. So the project question that I always ask everybody might be a little bit not a good one right now, but I want to go back to Total Hockey Training. You wrote that. That was for Human Kinetics. What was talk to us? Just like give us a minute on kind of like what was the best part about kind of doing that and that whole project.
You know what, the best thing for me for that was it started out as a goal, like, hey, I want to write a book and have it published by the time I turn 40. And, it was a goal of mine to do that and to grind through it, a lot of early mornings and late nights and doing it on top of, working in the NHL and then to see all the proper steps that it took through the publishing process and then to see it kind of in physical form, that was pretty neat. And I'm excited to say I did that. So
did you learn anything kind of about, like, sometimes I know when I write some stuff down or I have to go over some stuff or redo some stuff, I feel like I learned something. Did you learn anything about your programming and decide, I'm going to try this and I'm going to do that. Maybe this doesn't seem right.
Well, I think definitely when you read a book, by the time it comes out, things have changed. Definitely, although there's some big principles in the book that are still what I believe in. It's definitely correct that, you definitely change on the go, and some things that would change in program design, of course, but for the most part, I think it's a good program that anyone could follow.
Good stuff. Sean, let's finish up with the letter to your younger self. What advice would you give yourself, kind of young Sean?
I think for me, it would be to enjoy life a little bit more. When I was younger, maybe I felt like I was always kind of chasing something, and whether it's the perfect program or winning the Stanley Cup or whatever, sustaining longevity in the NHL. I think just maybe take a breath more and enjoy my family more. Then that's something I'm definitely doing a lot more of now. And maybe slow down just a little bit, and that's okay. It doesn't mean you're not a hardworking person or a goal-orientated person. Maybe just slow down a little bit and just reflect a little bit more on things.
Well, it sounds like you're doing it. If you go on Facebook, your wife wrote the other day that I think everybody else in the house was taking a nap altogether. So she said that might have been a first. So
yeah, no, I like my pregame naps, even though I'm not playing in the games, but I like to be able to come home and relax a little bit.
Yeah, it's awesome. Sean, well, thanks so much for coming on today. And obviously, you haven't just gone to successful programs. You've been a big part of why programs are successful, and we could see that this year as well in the Minnesota Wild. And you certainly have your contributions there. You guys are doing so great. So always a pleasure getting you on, talking a little shop. So thanks for coming on.
And always a pleasure. I love what you do for the industry. Thanks a lot.
All right, well, that's going to do it for episode 27 of the Stop and Give Me 20 podcast. Thanks again to Sean Skahan. Make sure to check out all the links to all his stuff at stop20podcast.com. Don't forget to subscribe to the show, leave us a review and a rating. It'll really help us out. My name is Anthony Rana. Thanks so much for stopping by.